What's up, everybody? It's at time for another episode of Elevation with Chris Orm. This is Elevation with Chris Orm, episode 13, where we talk to individuals who have climbed the ladder of success. I'm excited for today's very special guest, and that is John Soto. And John Soto joins us as one of the first employees over here at Origin Acoustics, a local speaker manufacturer right here in Las Vegas. But John comes to us with a very unique case scenario as well, as he is a Army Reserve veteran. So we're very welcome to have John on the show today, and I'm sure he's got a lot of interesting stuff outside the normal realm of the smart home community. So with that, I welcome John to the show. What's up, John? How we doing today, man?
I'm doing great, thank you. How are you?
Good, man. Thanks for being here. I know you have a busy schedule of flying around the country, so thanks for making some time to stop in here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to be here.
Cool, man. So before the show, we were just chatting a little bit how joining custom integration kind of happened by accident. You were living in Texas at the time, in Austin, Texas, and you found yourself working at a company called Screen Innovations. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Screen Innovations just needed a job. Was coming out of the military, just got back from AIT, our selection house and all that good stuff, and came over, was looking for a job and went, okay, yeah, that looks good. Got that and was there for about 6 months before I moved over to the Origin Acoustics side, right when they were starting up. So one of the first few employees, just like you said.
Cool. What year was this? Throw us back.
Yeah, boy, that is 2014.
Okay. So did you know anything about screens and projectors and anything like that?
No, not at all.
How'd you get the job?
Yeah, just I had a friend of a friend who was working there and said, hey, they're looking to hire for somebody to build some screens. And money looked pretty good at the time.
Yep.
So I said, sure, why not? Interviewed, got the job, had no real interest in screens or anything. I was actually prepping to go back to Fort Bragg, which is now Liberty, but it'll be Bragg always in my heart. Mm-hmm. Looking to go back there and go active duty and just thankfully, I think things worked out the way they were supposed to. And I stayed with Screen Innovations and then went over to the Origin Acoustics side.
Nice. So before we open the can of worms and get into Origin Acoustics, where you're currently at, so it's been quite a few years at Origin Acoustics as one of the first employees.
Yep.
Talk to us about your career in the military, because that you began prior to starting at Origin, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So tell us about that, how you got involved in the military, how old were you, kind of why you wanted to join the military. Walk us through that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I come from a family of police officers, quite a few of them. My dad, my uncle, my aunt, and my cousin even now is a police officer as well. So for me, with my dad especially, it was always about servitude, selfless sacrifice, selfless service, servant leadership, all that good stuff. So from an early age, I knew I was going to do something community-based, whether it was going to be police officer or military, something similar. When I was 9 years old, I watched the second towers go down from my middle school rooftop on 9/11. And just then I knew for sure that's what I wanted to do, was go join the military. So had that urge early on. Graduated high school when I was 17. That was 2009.
Okay.
My mom would not let me join the Army right out of school. She would not sign the waiver. Asked me to do 2 years of college, so I did.
Okay.
Did double major, trying to do music theory as well as aviation because I wanted to fly.
Okay.
Well, as soon as I finished that second year, 14 days later, I left for basic training, and I was out. Now, that job in the military, didn't know what it was. They gave me a description. First guy didn't know what it was. Second recruiter didn't know what it was. Third recruiter finally gave me sort of an answer. I asked him, is it airborne? At that time, I shifted from wanting to fly planes to jumping out of them. And he said, yep, you have to. Great, sign me up.
Okay, so at that point, what's the difference between the Army and the Air Force? Because, Air Force traditionally mainly air-related activities.
Sure.
And then Army, I guess you're jumping out of planes, so it's slightly different than flying a plane?
Yeah, a little bit different. And the Army does have a good amount of pilots.
Okay.
I've worked with quite a few Army pilots. Air Force, yes, they are primarily focused on air, whether it's flying the planes. They do have guys that jump out as well. But for me, Army, that's always what you saw in the movies. Mm-hmm. That was the cool guys going overseas and just being tough. And so for me, the Army was the grittier move, and I didn't want to be yelled at all the time, so I didn't join the Marines.
Gotcha.
That was out.
So prior to that, have you ever jumped out of a plane before with skydiving? You just what made you decide that you wanted to jump out of planes for a career?
Yeah, they got me good with the
Yeah.
one of those recruiting promos.
Yeah?
Saw them jumping out of planes in a Army commercial, and I went, wow, that looks like quite the rush. And I've always been a bit of an adrenaline junkie.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was an easy one for me to go and, yeah, want to jump out of planes.
So I've been skydiving once. So obviously I'm an expert on skydiving. So when I jumped out of a plane once, I mean, it's obviously a very memorable experience.
Yep.
But I did it as a tandem jump. So my instructor had done literally tons of jumps
Sure.
before. Do you know how many jumps you've made? Like, is that a number you keep track of? Is that a metric that a key performance indicator, if you will?
It definitely is, and it's one that I should remember, but I don't know off the top
Are
of my
we in
head.
the hundreds, thousands? Like,
No.
No?
We're sub 20 probably.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're just under 20, probably about 18. But some of those in other countries, which is great.
Yeah.
So I've gotten to jump overseas, and that was an experience. A couple joint jumps with other countries, their military as well, and it's just always been a blast. I love the rush. There's something about it. You know, you're falling at a rate of I think 140 miles an hour as you come out of the plane. But when that parachute opens, it's so quiet up there. It's so peaceful, and you can just see for miles. So it's the mix of that adrenaline and then just peace and calm. It's perfect.
So the first time you jumped, did you jump with another person, or has it always been solo?
Always solo. So we do, I was a paratrooper, so it's called a static line jump.
Okay.
And that means that you've already got a rope, if you will, coming off, hooked on. So it pulls the chute for you as soon as you jump out. You fall for about 4 to 6 seconds, depending on the type of chute, before it opens up. First jump, though, I was what they call first man, meaning I was standing at the door, which was an amazing experience. You're standing there, planes going up and ascending, and you are just looking out, watching the horizon, wind coming in and hitting you, and then you get a nice little tap to go, and you just jump right out that plane.
Who taps you to go?
Or jump master.
Okay.
So the person on that plane who is designated to make sure you are jumping properly and safely, and they do emphasize this in airborne school, that they do not help you get out the plane physically. I'm just saying that maybe I've seen that actually happen for those guys who are a little stuck at the door to get out there.
So does the jump master jump too?
Sometimes, yeah. Usually at
Gotcha.
the end, you'll get a jump master jumps with them. Not always. Just depends on the type of jump we're doing.
Okay. Walk me through your first couple weeks in the military. What sort of mental transformation did you have?
Yeah. That was definitely a what did I do type of experience.
I'm sure.
right?
I can imagine.
Yeah, it's a shell shock
Yeah.
for sure. So this is June of 2011. I am at Fort Benning, Georgia. That's Columbus, Georgia, and just sweating and suffering. And, you know, of course, I'd be lying if I said that I didn't have that, oh, man, was this a mistake moment.
Yeah.
Of course I did. It was brutal. They are just designed to break you down and build you back up. And for good reason. It's necessary. It absolutely is. But those first few weeks were definitely a lot of, I'm not sure I can do this. Is this the right choice? And then once you fall into the groove, it's fine. It's great. And you're moving along. And you know, at the end of it, it's worth all the struggle and pain that you're going through.
When you were going into it, what was your kind of mental toughness attitude like? Were you one of the kids who thought, you know, hey, I can do this? Did you have doubts at the time? Like, did you think you'd make it for sure?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so you came in kind of with a knowing like this is going to be tough, but I got this type of attitude.
Yeah, absolutely. I knew
Okay.
the only way I wasn't going to go through it was if I got injured and broke something and could not physically finish. And even then, I had shin splints really bad, and I just sucked it up and just went through it regardless. So I had a good amount of mental toughness already. Did a lot of sports growing up, lacrosse, football, basketball, baseball, track, cross country, all of it.
Okay.
And so physically wasn't that bad. And the mental side, you just buckle up and, tell your part of your brain that's screaming to just quiet down, just keep it moving.
Okay, so how long did that first training session go for?
So that first one was 3 months of basic training.
Okay.
And then from there, it was off to the John F. Kennedy Special Warfare Center and School at Fort Bragg, commonly known as the Swick House.
Okay.
And that is even worse. Yeah, it's a little bit of the big boy rules, but that's actually where they go to teach you your specific job in the military. And so that job there, spent time at Bragg, and then we go to a very specialized place called Camp McCall. And that is where you just suffer for weeks. sleep deprivation, calorie deprivation. You are running missions nonstop. They're waking you up in the middle of the night to exercise, to go on runs. It is brutal, but it is necessary. And it was a lot of fun looking back.
So this is full-time. Like this is, you're eat, sleeping, and breathing the Army at this point.
Yes, absolutely.
So for what time period does that continue for? Like, so you're in training, you go to your next training, you go to your next training. And then when, I know training never stops officially, but when are you out of training and into more of a role?
Yeah. So even with our job, getting out of that selection and schoolhouse, and then you go to your first unit. And my first unit was actually in Austin, at Camp Mabry there. So showing up there, you're still the newbie for a while.
Yeah.
And so, of course, even then, I'd say another 4 to 6 months before they can trust you to go and actually focus on your sole position. And so it takes a little bit of time, but at this point now, you're 2 years deep and you're really feeling it. And 2 years in, let's see, that was about the time, I think 3 years deep, I went on my very first mission to Guatemala. And it was myself and 2 guys on my team. And I was a young 23, maybe 24-year-old. And they're like, all right, you're going to take these 2 guys. You're the team chief. Go run missions. And it was me running up and down the mountains and rainforests of Guatemala with a lot of responsibility. These 2 guys, their lives in my hands as I ran around out there. And it was a really cool experience, but boy, you grow up real quick on your very first mission.
How did they select you to be the team lead if this is your first mission as well?
Yeah, so I think that they just had at this point a lot of trust in me. I had showed maturity for my age. A big part of that is my father, again, being a police officer, growing up with some rigidity. Definitely, too, I think there is being a first-generation immigrant. My mom from Barranquilla, Colombia. My dad, my biological dad from Montevideo, Uruguay. But my mom, very much so, being an immigrant, that hard work mentality was just beaten into me at an early age. She was always like, you've got to work hard. You've got to work harder than anybody else. You got to prove that you are a hard worker. So doing all that, I think I shown pretty quickly within my unit, not to really toot my own horn, but I was working really hard and wanted them to see that I could be responsible enough to go on a mission. And so they sent me, and these 2 guys, they were just ranked below me. So I was in charge as the NCO there, non-commissioned officer, and was just running missions with them. And it was great. But I remember that very first mission coming back, first day, and not sleeping a wink. I was just so stressed out, thinking, anything that could go wrong, that's on me. Anything that happens to these 2 guys, that's my fault. And it's quite a lot of responsibility at that age to take on.
For sure. What age were you at the time?
It was about 23, 24.
Okay. So are you stationed in Guatemala for a period of time? Like what?
Yeah, it's just short missions. We were there just about a month, just running some missions there before relief comes in. But it's every day, Monday through Sunday. We pretty much had no days off, and it was always something different. And so we were down in what they call the drug triangle in Guatemala. It's part of Belize, and then within lower Guatemala there. So very busy, head on a swivel, talking to local civilians, working with local agencies, and then working with a couple other units that are with us that were small teams as well.
So is there like a United States military base point? Like where do you take off of a plane from Guatemala?
Yeah, no, not a U.S. one. We actually lived on local partner forces base. So It's a Guatemalan Army's base. And it was a joint base. So they had some of their special forces, some of their regular Army. I think their civil affairs guys were there as well. So a couple other units that were there. And then we were in what they call a CMOC, which is a Civil Military Operations Center. And it's myself, my 2 guys. We had intelligence there as well. And then we had combat camera, civil affairs, and maybe one other guy that was in that. So very small team, even then, that we were working with.
Yeah. Were you there with anything related to drugs in Guatemala? Were you an ally of the Guatemalan government going against some bad actors of Guatemala? Is that something I can ask?
I declined that question.
Yeah.
No, just kidding. We were helping out with that. Our main mission was humanitarian aid, but there was always going to be some counter-narcotic missions going on down there, and it's just the nature of what it is.
Okay.
And so, of course, we did our best to hand out information and gather information that we could, and then bring that back to main base and pass it on to other units within the U.S. that we were there with and other entities. I won't say who, but other entities that we were there with. Then they go and they work that with the local partner forces. And so we were doing quite a bit of that. Yeah.
That's rad.
Yeah, it's a cool mix. You know,
yeah.
I've done everything now in my career from counterterrorism to straight up humanitarian aid, helping to bring in school and health and sanitation programs to various countries. So you get a big mix, big mix there.
For sure. So, John, I want to ask you about kind of your core values and characteristics growing up. It sounds like you actually had great role models behind you. So we got the mom coming in from the immigrant perspective, you need to work hard.
Yep.
We got the dad coming in from a disciplined cop, like you need to live a disciplined life with rigid and routine where we respect people around us.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Then you join the military that embodies both of those qualities, the hard work as well as the discipline. Did you ever have a point in your young life where you were lost or surrounded by the wrong influences?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. I would say, you know, in high school, unfortunately, I've had a few friends that even early on in high school and then just in my early military career that got involved in drugs and ended up ODing. And even then early on, thankfully, even though I felt a little bit loss of friends when you're young, especially is hard, especially when you're very close to them. My one friend that I was very, very close with was almost like a brother to me. Lost him pretty early on. But thankfully, my parents had always been they scared me of doing anything like that. So, yeah, a little bit lost of, you know, the friends there. But the influences that I still had around me, even at that point, were pretty good. I looked up to my mom quite a bit. She raised me as a single mom for a while before my dad, who's really my stepdad, but he adopted me when I was, I want to say 7 or 8.
Okay.
He raised me, and, you know, I looked up to him as well, and I still do. Him and I butted heads, of course, you know, being a teenager.
Yeah.
And, you want to rebel a little bit, and your friends are able to have freedom, and they're going out and staying late, and I had to be home even at 17 at 10 p.m.
Yeah.
You know.
I had a friend whose father was in the police department here in Metro. So same story, you know, like, how come my friends can spend the night? It's like, no, you have to come home and be at home by 10. Like, I know what happens. And it's like,
he's right.
He's right. Yeah. So honestly, like, you can't knock the parents for loving their children and being the responsible parent they should be.
Right. They want to keep us safe. And yes, of course, I wanted to stay out and rebel. But I'm thankful that they did really keep me in line. You know, who knows what could have happened. Yeah. Nothing good happens after 12, my dad always said.
Right. Except from How I Met Your Mother, I think all of our parents say it, but I think it's just so true. And really, the more I start to argue, it's more probably like 10 p.m. Now that I get up early and go to bed late, now that I get up early and go to bed early, I just know that nothing good is happening on the Las Vegas Strip.
No. Yeah, being here in Vegas, absolutely. 10 o'clock, nothing good.
So talk to me now about your transition to Las Vegas. So you were working in the military.
Mm-hmm.
While working at Origin Acoustics. Talk to us about the transition from Screen Innovations to working at Origin Acoustics while maintaining a military career.
Yeah, it's a juggling act, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It takes some strategy to get that right. I was hired by Ed Hazy, who is one of the founders of Origin Acoustics. He was a founder of Speakercraft, and he's actually one of the fathers of architectural speakers.
Yep.
So designed and created the first architectural speakers. He hires me, brings me over, knows that I'm in the military, still doing the reserve thing, and is okay with it. No problem. We'll make it work. I was in a high tempo unit, and I've always been in high tempo units, especially in my job. Normal military reserve unit is supposed to be this 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year. Not the case in my job. It was gone. I was gone very much, often gone. Whether it was running missions or just jumping or training. There's always something, and there's always training, like you said before.
Yeah.
So the transition was, it's never been easy to be able to handle both. And so working over at Origin, I'm learning now, started as a warehouse worker, but now I'm learning logistics, and I'm learning international logistics.
Yeah.
I'm learning it on the fly. We had asked Ed, another coworker of mine, who we both started at the same time. hey, we need some help with this international logistics. They're asking about an SLI and CI. And he's like, I don't know what that is. So you two will have to just figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I'm very used to sink or swim. So figured it out. To this day, actually, that was back in 2014. We're still using the same commercial invoices and shippers letters of instruction that I created way back then.
Congratulations.
So, yeah, 1010 years later. Thank you. So transitioning from that, it's just been difficult. And, move up to warehouse worker, logistics manager. Then they asked me to move in 2017 to Las Vegas to open up the warehouse there. Now, the company was based in Riverside, California. California being as expensive as it is, even in the IE there, still expensive. So coming over to Vegas, they asked me and I said, sure, why not? Never been to Vegas. So my first time there, 2 weeks before I moved to look for a neighborhood. Moved in April of 2017, opened up the warehouse that's still here and have been here ever since. Yeah, and just still at that point trying to maintain both Army and civilian life. So I got out of the Army once into the IRR in 2018. So the reserve, basically backup reserves.
Okay.
I was there for about 3 months before I got a call asking me to come in to go to Africa. And so took it. November of 2018, had to tell Origin, I'll see you in a year. And then left January of 2019, came back about October of 2019. And was deployed to Africa there for a year.
Where'd you go in Africa?
So that was the Horn of Africa. So if you look at Africa and you go as far east as you can, right below Yemen, there is Djibouti, Somalia, Kenya, Tanzania, Ethiopia, all those areas there. So we were bouncing around a little bit.
Nice.
Yeah, it was great experience. Got to help a lot of people. That mission set, it changed quite a bit. We had started with a counterterrorism, and then at the end of it, we had shifted our whole vision and mission set to a humanitarian aid, trying to work with USAID and doing a health and sanitation program. And so I was creating these really large, complex campaigns to help bring in some health and sanitation programs.
So I'm sure the military has taught you a lot.
Sure.
What's the number one thing that the military has taught you that you're able to bring into your life?
I would say, and it's so surprising that the military has taught me this, but truly confidence is key. Because I've had to walk into briefings for generals, 3-star generals, as a young private. So about as low as you can get on the totem pole there, and had to brief them, and I had to be that expert. And so that confidence, being able to go in there and saying, hey, I get it. I'm 20 years old. I have been in the Army barely a day, compared to how long they've been in. But you're going to have to listen to me because I know what I'm talking about, and I am an expert. And so learning that early on has really helped me in both my military career and my civilian career. Because that's something with confidence, you can get away with a lot. You can end up in places you never should have been without, a VIP badge or pass, because you're just like, nope, I'm supposed to be here. And it's just taught me so much. Just that has turned into some really, really cool opportunities in my life, and including what I'm doing now, which is the Bang & Olufsen brand manager for Origin Acoustics.
Okay. What is confidence? How does someone get this confidence that you speak of?
Fake it till you make it. No, really, it's a little bit of that. I truly think that you do have to kind of just put on this mask of confidence of, yes, I've got this, I can do this.
Okay.
Even if you don't really believe it, just tell yourself that you've got it, you can do it. But a lot of it too is just, it's research, it's knowledge, it is repetition, it's rehearsals. Knowing what you're talking about, whether you're confident actually speaking and doing public speaking. And I just came back from Cancun for Origin and did a 5-minute speech on social wellness. We did the 7 dimensions of wellness, and mine was social wellness.
Okay.
Even without rehearsal, I truly believe in social wellness, and I know it well, and I've researched it, and I've walked the walk. So even without rehearsing it, because I know it so well, I'm able to just go up and speak in front of 110 people about it. And that right there, I think, is confidence. It's knowing and having that knowledge of what you're speaking on.
So it's picking a few things that you know well and you can speak on, and having that expertise rather than not knowing exactly what you're talking about and, kind of maybe not even being the best guy for the subject. When you know the industry and the subject matter that you're speaking on, you don't have to rehearse it. It's great if you do.
Yeah.
But if you have the words to say and you know what you're going to say, it'll come off as strong.
Exactly. Yeah. Being a subject matter expert, that's great, and that's always going to help. But if it's something that you truly believe in and you're passionate about, and I've done my own research on social wellness even before Origin asked me to speak on it, that I knew I can speak from the heart because this is something that I'm confident in. And so, you have your 30 seconds of jitters with anything that you do that puts you out of your comfort zone. But once you get in it and you go, yeah, I'm just going to speak from the heart and, do what I need to do and speak how I need to speak, and you're fine. I think a lot of people overthink things too. Yeah. Am I holding this mic right? Am I standing correctly? Just go with the flow. Just have fun, be confident, and having fun is a big part of it. Even when I was giving those briefings that they aren't necessarily fun because you're in uniform and you're trying to be as respectful as possible. Make it fun still, have a good time with it.
Okay, so Origin Acoustics, you just got back from Cancun. Mm-hmm. So your role now, you mentioned to us, you're the Bang & Olufsen product manager?
Brand manager.
Yeah. Okay. So what does that include? What does that job duty include? What does it tell us?
Yeah. So basically for all of North America, we have a deal, Origin Acoustics, with Bang & Olufsen, where we will brand manage them in the CI channel, so within the custom integration channel. That means we do everything from the logistics of it, holding inventory and shipping it out, to sales projections, to managing the accounts, so managing our integrators, those relationships with them. So it's a very busy job, but it's very fulfilling when you get these guys, especially that are brand new to Bang & Olufsen. They've never installed it. And it is a bit of a learning curve compared to our speakers that are passive, in ceiling and in walls, architectural, you need an amplifier, to powered Bang & Olufsen speakers that have their own ecosystem and an app. Once you get these guys up and running and you see them getting that learning curve and it clicks for them and they get their first install and they're like, oh, this is amazing. And the client is blown away. It's so much fun when you just start to see them going with it and the confidence of them. I love teaching. I actually just got out of the Army again for the second time. But this time I was an instructor within my job for the Army. Okay. Because I love teaching people. I love that. And seeing it click in somebody's head like that is fantastic. So for me, even as busy as it is, I was in Florida 2 weeks ago, all over East and West Coast. Then I was in Texas, Austin, San Antonio. Then I was in Cancun last week. And then tomorrow, as we talked about, I'll be leaving for Montana for another event.
Nice.
It's great to be able to watch these guys just click and, they get it and it's fun. And Bang & Olufsen is a great company as well as Origin Acoustics. So it's a really natural partnership. We've been partners now for about 8 years, I believe.
How does that partnership work? Like, I guess my question is what benefit does Origin Acoustics get from it, and why would Bang & Olufsen outsource their CI logistics to Origin Acoustics? I mean, I know Origin Acoustics has a large distribution channel with CI people, so they already kind of have that map. Is that why that partnership came together?
Yeah, that's about right. It is when they looked at companies and that they wanted to partner with to make in-ceiling and in-wall speakers, getting into the passive speaker game, they liked what we were doing. They liked our team, and they liked that we knew the channel really well. Even from an early start, 2015 is really when we became partners, so we'd only been around about a year. They already saw how fast we were growing and the network that we had. And so for them, when we just launched this program, which was about 2 years ago, they knew we had a good network, and they knew that we understood the CI channel. And so they chose us as partners for that. We actually just launched the first ever Bang & Olufsen outdoor speaker, the Bayo Sound Bollard. Okay. They've never done outdoor speakers, and they've done this joint relationship with us now on it. So for them, that's a huge benefit. And then for us, of course, Bang & Olufsen, it is the oldest continuously manufacturing audio-video company in the world. They are almost 100 years old. They were founded in 1925, so they're coming up on that 100-year anniversary.
Nice.
That means they have a name that almost everybody knows. Whether they're in the industry or not, they recognize B&O or the logo or the name and have heard it in passing or are a lover of it. I mean, we still have customers that reach out to our integrators that have had products for 30 years that they want to get repaired.
Yeah.
They don't care that it's, not modern, doesn't have a touch screen. They love it so much that they want their integrator to try and fix it for them. And so for both of us, the B&O name and that heritage is fantastic. For B&O, we are constantly making new things and having new products out there. We're extremely integrator focused, very human centric as well, but we're focused on that integration channel. And so for B&O, they knew, okay, these are the guys that we want to work with.
Nice. So question on that front. When we talk about car speakers, so I know Bang & Olufsen, they're in Audis, for instance. Is Origin Acoustic ever going into more consumer-focused speaker manufacturing, or is it always going to be kind of in the CI channel?
Yeah, that's a good question. I haven't heard us talk about moving into more consumer-focused or more retail, so I don't think so, but who knows?
You never know.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
At this point now, we are partnering with a company called WIM, W-I-I-M.
Yep.
You can see them all over Amazon, and they are very retail-facing. But with that, we still are making our own CI versions of their amplifiers, of their streamers that we'll have, because it is really important to us that we do protect the CI channel. It's how we got our start. It's the reason why we're here. We want to make sure that we take care of our integrators. And we're big believers in, if the integrator's happy and the customer's happy, we're happy.
Hell yeah. And I think Origin does a superb job at that.
Oh, we appreciate that. Thank you.
Of course. So let's talk about when you first moved to Las Vegas. This was 2017, 2018?
2017, yeah.
Okay, and you said you'd never been here before, 2 weeks before you moved to open the Origin Acoustics warehouse.
Yeah.
What do you think of Las Vegas? So I'm someone who's born and raised in Las Vegas. I lived all 27 years of my life here in Las Vegas for the most part. But I want to know what your thoughts are. Like, what side of town do you live on? What do you think about the Strip? Just talk to us about all these sorts of things.
Yeah. So first place I moved to was Summerlin, which was great. Rented a house there. And then thankfully, because of Ed Hazy, he really strongly urged me to buy a house. So I bought a house in Summerlin as well, just a little bit after that.
Nice.
But I remember my initial reaction coming into Vegas was, I didn't know that there were mountains in the desert.
Yeah.
That blew my mind.
Okay.
I had zero clue that there were any mountains.
Yeah.
And it was just beautiful looking at all those. And, coming from Texas, where Central Texas is rolling hills. It's beautiful, but it's pretty flat in comparison. And seeing mountains like that just blew my mind.
Okay.
So that was amazing. The Strip, cool. That's the Strip.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, did a little bit of the gambling, a little bit of the walking around and checking it out. And, even then knew just not for me. And right now I don't drink. So it's like, the Strip's there and that's cool. And I don't gamble. So
Yep.
we go down there because we do host quite a bit of parties for customers. But yeah, at the time I just thought, that's a lot going on over there. I'd prefer to be closer to Summerlin where I can go and run outside. I'm a big runner. So go run out there, and then taking some hikes out to the Red Rock Mountains. And it's really where I didn't like it at first. I'll be completely honest.
Las Vegas?
I did not like Las Vegas at first. No, I thought, wow, this is a desert, and the mountains are beautiful, but this is just desert. Spending more time here, after my first year, I truly got to understand the beauty of the desert. It's different, of course. It's not big green, but man, is it beautiful when you're out there. And then a few times camping, sleeping under the stars. It's amazing. Yeah, you come to love it. And so, I've been here. Too. Yeah, I've stayed here this long because I do like Las Vegas.
So compared to Texas, like Austin, Texas is a very live and upcoming city. I know a lot of Californians are moving there. The Joe Rogan experience is moving there. Elon Musk. Did you miss Austin, Texas when you moved from it?
Yeah, I always miss Austin. I truthfully tear up a little bit every time I get on a plane leaving Austin.
No, okay.
Yeah, it's still
so
home.
I've never been to Austin, Texas. Would you recommend visiting it?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Maybe I'll have to ping you off the show, get some good to-do list items in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, I'll give you the real barbecue spots, not the big commercialized ones.
Like Dickie's, I know that's the that's the epitome of commercial barbecue.
Yep, yeah, or even Rudy's, which is good, but there are barbecue spots that you need to go to, and I'll get you taken care of. Don't worry.
Perfect. What about in Vegas? What are some of the spots that you like to? Restaurants? What gym you go to? What do you like to do for fun out here?
Yeah, so EOS, that's my go-to gym.
Okay.
I bounce around between a few of them, depending on what time I'm
Where
going.
where can we find John? The viewers, if they see you, they're going to come up to you at EOS Fitness. Which one do you go to?
Yeah, so I bounce between the one on
Sahara and Durango?
Yeah, that is
same here.
So,
I went to the Sahara one yesterday. I think the Durango one, although busier, it doesn't smell like absolute dog shit like the Sahara one. Bro, sometimes I go to the Sahara one and it's not okay.
Yeah, it's just ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just terrible.
From the second you walk in the door.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's so bad before you even walk in,
Yeah.
you know it's going to hit you.
Yeah.
So I try to bounce between those two. And then sometimes, because my office is close to here, Decatur, Blue Diamond, that one as well. But if you go right after, work, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock.
No spot.
Oh, it's chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely not. So you just got to time it right. But I bounce between those. Other than that, because I travel so much and I don't drink, there's not a whole lot for me to go and bounce around to. So most of my time is running or lifting, or this is the nerdiest thing, but I swear it's true, just sitting at home reading books. I'm going through all the Stoics right now.
Nice.
So I've read Meditations by Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah.
Then moving into Epictetus. That's what I'm reading now.
Okay.
And then I'm going through the rest. I've got the Tao of Pooh. That's next on my list after this.
Nice.
But I want to read all the Stoics books.
Okay. So I'm going to get there at some point. I have the Ryan Holiday, the Daily Stoic.
Yes.
It gives you just a nugget of motivation for the day.
Yep.
So that's what I have right now. But definitely I want to get into some of the philosophy books.
Yeah.
Right now I'm kind of big on consciousness.
Oh, okay.
So I'm reading a book called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. It's some meditation, some universe type shit. It's pretty high level, honestly. But the next book on my list is also very high level. It's called Reality Transurfing. It's kind of making your own destiny in life. It's pretty high level stuff.
Damn.
Yeah. So I'm a big reader too.
Cool.
And then wanted to get your perspective. You mentioned that you're a big runner.
Yeah.
What type of running shoes you rock?
So I'm rocking On Clouds.
Okay.
Yeah, and so actually my CEO, Nick Berry, who, God, I hope he listens to this. Nick, I really hope you hear this. I've told this to him, but he is like a big brother to me.
Okay.
Really helped me grow in the industry, really helped me grow in life, has given me advice. I truly don't make a lot of decisions before I ask Nick.
Yeah.
And that's whether it's work-related or not, even within my personal life. He's a big runner as well, which is crazy because he's a big guy. If you ever met Nick Berry, he's a tall, big, strong guy.
Yeah.
Loves running too. He bought me my first pair of On Clouds because we were training for a half marathon together.
Okay.
And I've never looked back after that.
The rock and roll or a different one?
It was the rock and roll. Yeah, that's exactly what we were
Bro.
training for. And then he ended up having to drop out of that, and I switched over and did the Hoover Dam run. If y'all have ever done it or have not done it, excuse me, it is brutal.
Yeah.
Because it goes from hardball, you're on pavement, to sidewalk, to dirt, trails, up and down. And then this is my least favorite type of half marathon. I don't want to pass the fucking start line and then have to come back to finish it. I hate that. That's just, it's devastating when you're like, there it goes.
Yeah.
All right. And then having to
It's a
circle
bad
back.
course.
Yeah. Not a fan of that. But it was a great run. It's beautiful. Ran it with another friend here who's an Army recruiter and just had a blast. But Nick got me really into running again because I did not want to run that half marathon at all. And him really forcing me to do it. I stuck with it and have been doing it now. That was like 3 years ago. Yeah, so I've been running since then and have fallen in love with it.
Nice. I definitely love running as well. I believe that one of the best human experiences is the runner's high.
Yes.
Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. And people don't believe it exists. It exists. It 100% is real. And when you get there, for me, it's about mile 5 for me to hit the runner's high.
Yeah.
But I'm always chasing that runner's high. And it's amazing. Plus, I love the fact that it's just you. You're held accountable for your running. You know, it's not a team sport. Can't rely on anybody else. It's all you.
Yeah.
So if you got to grind it out, you got to grind it out mentally. And it's a mental game.
For sure.
Oh, yeah. When you're doing those long distances, it's a mental game.
And it's crazy when you hit like real long distances, like the miles just kind of add up real quick. It's I'll go another mile. But it's like if you've never run more than a 5K, it's like, oh my gosh, like another mile. That seems like hell. But it's like, no, I'll do another 4. Like we got it in us.
Yeah, exactly. And I have my own routes that I know. If I take a turn here, that's going to end me at 3. If I go here, I'll end up at 5. Here is 7. And just depending on how you feel, you might just end up running 10 miles when you went out for 6.
Yeah, an easy 10.
An easy 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you always run outdoors?
Yes, I can't do treadmills. I'm also just a loud runner. So if I'm on the treadmill in the gym, I apologize if you've ever heard me on the treadmill in there because it is loud. I'm boom, 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 boom. So running outside, that's my always. If I can help it, if I have to run inside, say it's raining, like pouring raining, that's really, it's got to be pouring to stop me from running outside.
What about the heat? Will you always run in the morning in Vegas?
No, actually, I like running in the heat. And here's my reasoning.
Here we go, folks. This is a good one.
This might sound crazy, but I love running in the heat because I'm a hot-blooded person to begin with. So, if I'm going to start running, I'm already hot.
Yeah.
And then I'm just going to keep running. I'm still hot, and I'm hot when I end. So whatever. I don't care. It's already hot out. I'm already hot. So I'll just run hot the whole time versus I hate running in the cold trying to warm up.
Yeah.
And then wearing layers and like, oh, gotta unzip this
and
or
you're
take this
sweating
off.
And you're like cold still.
That's miserable.
Yeah.
I would rather no. And that's what I had to go through with my schoolhouse in the Army. It was freezing cold in North Carolina, November.
Okay.
I hated running when it was like that. So I always will take hot anytime. I'll run over in the heat anytime over cold.
So when you first got into like running as a hobby and something that you enjoyed doing, I think it's almost like compared to what people think about as reading. Like in school, we hated reading because we had to do it.
Yeah.
In the Army, you probably hated running because you had to do it.
Yeah.
And then do you remember the breakthrough you had on your first run that you really enjoyed? Were you doing it by yourself? Was it because you were with Nick Berry? Like what brought you to this first run that you're like, hey, I love this. I'm going to do this again.
Yeah, it actually was one of my runs with Nick. I remember we were just chatting the whole time, just talking about everything. He's huge in the UFC as well, so we're talking MMA, we're talking work, and we're talking anything under the sun. And next thing I knew, we were at our turnaround point for mile 4 and doing an 8-mile run and just went, whoa.
Yeah.
That was quick. And, we weren't pushing ourselves. I think we were running a 9.5-minute pace, 9-minute pace.
Yeah.
But that moment of just, I can't believe how fast that went. And then from then, we ran about once a week together. Mostly it was by myself. So running by myself after that and just listening to podcasts, rarely do I listen to music. And even now sometimes, and people also tell me this is psychotic, I like running with nothing on. No music, just myself, just my thoughts, my breathing. I can just really regulate how I'm breathing. I really enjoy that. And so I have such a hectic job. And because I'm in, the speaker industry, there's always music playing in the office. There's always people talking. There's always something happening. And I listen to music on my drive home and back. So when I'm running, it's the only time that truly I can just get silence. Okay. And it's great, and I love that.
So you value the silent moments.
I do. I really do.
Why don't you try and create more silent moments? Like why you can make an easy shift and turn it off in your car, no?
Yeah, I could. I don't know why. I think it's also so my coworker Mila, she works right with me on the B&O side of things. I trained her in the warehouse. I've known her since she was 16. She's 23 now. So she's like my work daughter. I've known her forever. I listen to all kinds of music. Her and I bond over Taylor Swift. We're both big Taylor Swift fans. We're Swifties for sure. But I also enjoy death metal, black metal, deathcore, grindcore, and she does not at all. So I don't really listen to that in the office for her sake. Yeah. And I love hip hop too. She's really more on the pop and country side. So that drive home, that's my opportunity to really just listen to what I want to listen to.
Play what you want to listen to, what John wants to listen to.
That's right. That's John's time for his music. So
nice, man. So I see you got some tattoos here.
Yeah, just a few. You can even just full leg sleeve here as well.
Full leg sleeve, folks.
Yeah, I don't know if I can get that in. Look at that.
There we go.
All right. And the Origin socks.
So is that a strictly military thing?
No,
You like tattoos? Like I like tattoos, but my thing is if I got one, I would end up with 2 sleeves looking like you.
Get down to your palm too. Yeah.
I noticed that. That was the one that I was like noticing.
Yeah, that one was brutal. That was 30 minutes of the worst pain of my life.
Yeah. Way
worse than my knee. My stomach is completely tattooed, my sternum and chest. Yeah, this was the worst.
So do you have a quote unquote bodysuit?
Almost. They're not connected. Okay. So I'm working on that. I have to get up to my upper thigh and my butt cheek, which I'm not looking forward to doing.
Okay. Is it one artist? Is it multiple artists?
It's multiple, yeah. So most of my leg has been done by this man, Thomas Hooper, who used to live in Austin. He now lives back in the UK, where he's from.
Okay.
I just saw him in New York a few weeks ago. That was much cheaper than flying to London, so I went there to see him. And then Jay Jaree in Dallas, Texas. She's done a big chunk of my arms and my stomach. This guy Ray here at Blue Buddha, and the rest of it is my friend Michael Williams, who is in Austin, Texas as well. So a few artists, I try to stick to just a couple, and I trust them to do some great work on me. They've really, there's some therapy in that pain, I think, too, and it is addicting. Some of it's military. I've got some friends' names tattooed on my leg here that passed away, unfortunately. But for the most part, it's just things that I like and enjoy in different parts of my life.
Badass, bro. Honestly, like, I have a lot of respect for people that go all in on the tattoos. I feel like I grew up in a household where tattoos were kind of looked down upon.
Yeah, me too.
I love them though. Like, so does your dad have tattoos or no?
No, neither my mom or dad. They both have just accepted it at this time. I think for the first few tattoos they saw, they were shocked and like, oh, why would you do that? Oh my gosh. Now they've realized, hey, it doesn't change anything about me. It's just a look.
It is a look.
That's it.
Do you get a lot of people starting up conversations with you? Like,
yeah. I thought
guys and girls, yeah?
Yeah, guys and girls, and it's mostly guys. And I thought that it would keep people away from me a little bit more, Thought it would be more scary. No, absolutely not. It's the complete opposite effect. It is what does that mean? And what's that like? And did it hurt there? And look at this one that I have. Yeah. And that's a lot more.
Do people ever grab you and
gosh.
They do. Yeah. I hear this is a thing, but without having tattoos, I don't know what the experience of that is like. So do people just grab your arm and start like looking? They're examining you like, hey, what is this thing on your arm? Like, it's like, hey, I'm a human being too. Like, like you can ask, you can ask me.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not just a mannequin that you can grab and move around. No, I've had people even grab
I bet the
wrist.
eye.
Yes.
On the lower part of your bicep?
Yeah. That big all-seeing eye, that's Jay Jaree's in Dallas. It's kind of her like style of eye.
Yeah.
I've had people grab me just like that, grab my forearm and go, oh my gosh, and then grab the back of my arm.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I've never had anybody grab my leg when I'm wearing shorts. That would freak me out a little bit.
You might kick them.
I probably would, yeah. I'm pretty used to the arm grab at this point.
Okay.
Still never fun, but yes. If you see me, please don't come up and grab my arm.
If you see him at EOS Fitness on Sahara or Durango, folks.
Please don't. Please refrain. You can just ask me about any of them. I'm an open book. I'll talk about any of them. But,
okay.
Yeah.
So want to dive in a little bit further on kind of your role at Origin Acoustics. So you talk about your young childhood and your first 2 years of college. Mm-hmm. You studied music theory.
Yeah.
Okay. So you had some type of a music bug in you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've been playing guitar since I was 12 or 13, did music all 4 years of high school, learned to read music so I could read and write sheet music, and loved music always. So even in college, going to school for music, thought I wanted to open up a recording studio, and so just wanted to dive deeper into it. Loved it always, but didn't know anything about speakers. Nothing at all. Didn't know a brand, maybe one or two.
Bose.
We
can say it.
Yes, that's probably the one that I knew, and JBL, the other one, and that was about it. And so moving over to that Origin side, just starting in the warehouse, getting more familiar with speakers at that point because we were unboxing them as well. We were doing QC there. I've almost done every job at Origin, coming from just logistics manager, warehouse manager, helped out in QC, inside sales. I was the customer experience manager as well, doing the customer service side. All those years spending time in different departments, I've gotten to learn a crazy amount about speakers.
Right.
So it was just amazing being able to spend time with QC and with Ken Humphreys, another founder of Speakercraft and Origin. He was working with us a lot on the QC side. And so he was explaining to us crossovers and networks and all these other things. And so coils, learning all of that just by spending time with him. Mm-hmm. And then myself being who I am, if I get obsessed with something or if I like something like running, I'm going all in, and I'm going to spend all my time on it. And once getting more into the speaker side of things, especially on the sales side, I was full head on diving into it, and I was taking online courses on audio and doing YouTube videos and all that good stuff. And so it's just really some self-taught, but I would really say that just working with the different departments, Nick especially, he has been in the industry a very long time. He was at Speakercraft and then a number of other companies, and Origin was one of the first employees. One of the few that was hired just before me. He's got like 3 months on me. But he's taught me a lot about speakers too, and I'm really thankful for that because I found a passion in it. I love it. I love everything from just the passive in walls and in ceilings and music theory, all the way up to Bang & Olufsen and their active speaker line. It's just, I love it all.
So when you're someone in this industry that finds something you love, so in your case, that's audio, what stops you from just going all in and, experimenting as your household?
Yeah, it's, oh boy, that is a tough line to walk. It's now that I'm living in an apartment, sold my house just a little while ago, it's a lot easier not to.
Yeah.
But I had landscape speakers in my backyard and a subwoofer, and I was constantly swapping out amplifiers to try different ones there. And I had B&O all throughout the house and outdoor speakers that I had in the garage. Yeah, it's really hard once you start diving in. I think the only thing that stops you is money.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. If you just like, ooh, I could do that, but I probably shouldn't.
And especially when you're getting it at, discounts, when you're buying things at cost or slightly above cost, it's like, I can justify this. I need a new pair of speakers. I know I got 4 other pairs, but
yeah,
I need this.
Yeah, Origin is nice enough to let me hold some of my speakers in their warehouse or in our warehouse. So I've actually got some towers that are in there because I just don't have space for them. And they're fine and they're good. And I did not need to get another pair of towers, but the itch was there and wanted to swap them out for something. And I do love sitting at home and experiencing it. And I'm a big believer in you've got to actually know your product other than just the names and the specifications. You got to know how it actually works.
Yeah.
And if you're going to talk about how it sounds, you need to be able to sit in your own house and sit there and listen to it. And Origin is really good about the hey, take this home and listen to it for a week. And maybe we just forget about it. They're great about that. Or hey, if you really do want to try these out, we'll give you a good deal on it.
Yeah.
So they're accommodating for sure.
That's dope. I think with home theater, it's kind of like going to the gym. Like, have you heard of this concept of bigorexia? Like, I'm never big enough, right? So you look in the mirror, you're like, I'm not big enough. I'm not big enough. It's like you have a 10 out of 10 home theater, like highest end projector, highest end speakers, highest end projector screen, things like that. And there's always the next level up.
Yep.
It's like you can, from your $25,000 set of speakers, you can go up to the 50s, and like, how much better is the $50,000 going to be?
Yep.
And you can always keep going. And really there's the Bugattis of speakers and home theater. So it's a journey that, you can keep moving up the ladder, but money is probably the limiting factor.
Yeah.
And just cost benefit, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I will say that Bang & Olufsen, because they have price increases about once a year, it's the only speaker brand that I know of that the speakers actually appreciate in value. So it's a good investment, or at least that's what I tell myself.
Yeah.
Every time I buy something new from Bang & Olufsen, it's an investment.
Yeah.
Down the road, it's the same with watches. I have a lot of hobbies, guns, watches, tattoos, speakers. So even with watches, I can justify it to myself. I'm like, well, it's an investment.
Yeah, it holds value.
Exactly.
Yeah, and again, when you're buying things at cost, then it's almost you can almost completely justify it.
It's true. Yeah, it's absolutely true. Yeah.
You just need to decide how much of your monthly budget is going to go towards speakers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, budgeting has never been something I've been good at, but I'm working on it.
When you had your house before, did you have a home theater? Did you have a room for audio video?
Yeah, so I didn't have a home theater, but my living room was very B&O focused.
It was your media room.
It was my media room, absolutely. Yeah, I had a USB stick of movies that I've collected and transferred over to there. I was constantly in there watching music videos, watching TV shows, watching movies, and especially because it was Bang & Olufsen and running the Bang & Olufsen side, I was using it to find my own demos.
Yeah.
So listening to it and going, okay, yeah, I think this will sound great on the B&O
What were
stuff.
some of the go-to demos?
So for me, still my favorite music demo is Polyphia playing God, and it is just fantastic. And
Okay.
it sounds great on the B&O side. It sounds great on the Origin side. The way that it starts with just guitars, and they're out of Dallas, Texas. Great band, extremely talented. They have no vocalist, so it is just music. And when it hits about 30 seconds in,
Yeah.
on the big Bayo Lab 90s, $170,000 pair of speakers that
Yeah.
have 18 drivers each, 4
Yeah.
subwoofers built into each of them. Yeah, it hits you right here in the chest. And I
Okay.
love that feeling, and it is just a great demo track. Highly recommend. And the music video is fantastic, too.
One more time, what's the name of the song?
So it is Playing God by Polyphia.
Okay. So Bang & Olufsen. So they're a premium brand of speakers?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So from the lower end, how much is the cheapest pair of, tabletop speakers?
Yeah, you can get into a pair of tabletop speakers for about $6,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know they have some consumer level ones that you can buy at things like Best Buy, maybe?
Not Best Buy, but they are on Amazon.
Amazon.
Yeah, you can
Okay.
go right on there and you can buy some of their speakers, and that comes from B&O. So that's, you don't have to worry about it being some third party. It's Bang & Olufsen.
Nice. Does it ever get confusing when you speak to other people? You're like, hey, I work for Origin Acoustics, but I'm the brand manager?
Yes.
The brand manager for Bang & Olufsen.
Yes, every day. And if you have an idea for a better title that will help with that confusion, please let me know.
Yeah.
Because it is very confusing for people. And I get it. I will still get those conversations where people go, and you at your company, Bang & Olufsen, y'all need to do this. I'm like, well, no, I'm Origin Acoustics, but yeah, I can pass that on. I get it. I represent Bang & Olufsen. It is very confusing. Yeah. I'll work on that. I don't know. If you got any ideas, let me know.
No, it's not something you need to work on. But I feel like you probably just get that question a lot, like especially at like Acedia.
Oh
like,
my gosh.
What is this Bang & Olufsen guy doing at the Origin Acoustics booth? It's like,
Yep.
well, I work at Origin Acoustics.
Yes.
Now I thought you work at Bang & Olufsen.
Yes. Every time, every CDF for sure, it comes up. And it is confusing. I get it. Especially because we have at CDF Bang & Olufsen sign with all of our Bang & Olufsen products, and it's separated from the Origin side, and that's usually where I'm at. Yeah, it can cause quite a bit of confusion. But I think as people get to know me more in the industry, and I've been going to CDA now since 2017, that was my first CDA, there's a little bit less of the confusion because people know who I am.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, you still work at Origin, right?
Yeah.
And I have gotten a few of the, when did you go to B&O?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, still Origin Acoustics,
Yeah.
just, running the B&O side of it.
Got it. So I guess our time here is almost wrapping, but I want to dive in further about your role at Origin Acoustics for Bang & Olufsen. How do you manage these relationships? You said you work with about 80 integrators.
Yeah.
And are you the only account manager that they can go to?
So they can still go to their own Origin Acoustics manager as well. Some of them are blended where they're not necessarily my primary account, but because they do Bang & Olufsen,
Okay.
I help them out a lot. And then there's Mila, of course, who works with me. So she's another one who can help out. Then on the B&O side, we've got Adam and Aaron and Dave, who are also all B&O employees, but they help out on the CI side. So they're Bang & Olufsen America. But for me, it's really easy because even in my job in the Army, my job there was to talk to people. And it was building rapport and building relationships, especially authentic relationships.
Okay.
My dad, as a police officer, was primarily focused on, and he's still a school police officer. He's like me. He did it 25 years, retired for 3 months, and had to keep doing something.
Yeah.
So he went right back into it as a school district police officer. But like me, he was active in the community, and he loved helping people, and he found a love for that. And early on, I found that. So in the Army, I loved helping people and building real, authentic relationships. In my job here, it doesn't really feel like work other than, having to travel, because I love talking to people and I love finding out new things. You can learn something new from anybody. Be the cashier at McDonald's. It could be your barista.
Right.
It could be, whoever, Elon Musk. It doesn't matter. You can learn something from somebody. And I love building relationships and having that moment of when you see somebody at like Cedia or in Cancun that you haven't seen in a while and you're like, good to see you. And you got that big hug. And it's that warm and fuzzy feeling that you get. So for me, it's just building relationships. It's just natural. I just love it. I love actually learning about people. I love hearing their story. I want to talk to them. And so it's not a whole lot of work for me.
So when you do what you love for a living, it's not actually work.
Yeah, it truly.
And it's interesting you touch on that, because talking to people is probably one of my favorite things as well. So I think that's probably why we can get on this show and have good rapport. Like, we both love talking to new people, like creating these relationships. And really, I'd like to shout out our boy Robert for making this introduction. So Robert, this podcast would not be possible if it wasn't for you. So this podcast is dedicated to Robert Lodge over there at the Origin Acoustics team. So thanks to Robert for putting us together. John, this was a great show, man. Honestly, thanks for being here. Is there anything else that you want to tell the audience? Anyone we want to shout out? Mom and dad for their work ethic? Like, who are we shouting out that got you here today?
Yeah, absolutely. My mom and dad for sure taught me a lot of really important life lessons early on, kept me out of trouble. I'm thankful for that. And then, of course, got to shout out Nick Berry, Ed Hazy, giving me my start, giving me the opportunity to grow within the company. I mean, truly, Robert, of course. RD and I go back a little bit. We met at CDA years ago before he was even an Origin Acoustics employee, and really helped me out too. And he's been a good friend. Yeah, that's it. And just, be a good human. It's really not that hard. Take care of your fellow man.
Serve others.
Serve others. Yeah. Selfless, just leadership, servant leadership, and selfless sacrifice, helping out people. It's just good to get out there and meet people. Don't be afraid to learn something new.
Hell yeah, bro. So with that, I don't think I could end it any better, but this has been Elevation with Chris Orem. We're wrapping on episode 13. I can't believe we've made it this far, folks. Thanks for tuning in every single week, and we'll definitely see you next week. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.